Well, let's find out now how President-elect Trump is doing so far. According to conservatives, Michael Needham is the Chief Executive Officer at Heritage Action for America, and he joins us now from New York. Mike, good to see you.
Great to be here.
Well, first off, I want to talk to you about the most recent picks. Let's start off with Betsy DeVos, nominated for Education Secretary. Your thoughts?
I think it's an exciting pick. She's been somebody who's been a strong supporter of school choice her entire life, and we're very excited to see her. She'll do a great job. It's a further sign that President-elect Trump, who I think ran as probably the strongest pro-school choice candidate the Republican Party has ever had, is committed to that policy priority. It's very exciting for conservatives.
And let's move on to Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador, governor of South Carolina.
Yeah, I think she's an incredible face for the United States. She'll be a great ambassador. You know, when you think of the job of a governor looks at all sorts of issues, looks at the different interests that are out there, and tries to find a way to pull interests together and get things done. That sounds a lot like an ambassador. I think she's going to be an incredible ambassador. She'll be great at the United Nations.
There is one potential conflict there, I see, and it has to do with trade. We've heard all about Donald Trump's hardline stance on trade, but South Carolina is a state which is absolutely busting at the seams with growth in large part because of international trade. You've got BMW and other foreign car manufacturers moving there. You've got a bustling port city there. You've got Boeing, which has built the new Dreamliner plant and expanding that plant as we speak. It's exporting a lot of airplanes to countries like China. In fact, I was involved in a background discussion with a very high-level senior executive at Boeing last May, and here's what he said about Trump's trade plan. Quote, "We just recently announced that we're going to open a 737 finishing facility in China. The fact that we're opening a finishing center in China allows us to sell more 737s in China, which allows us to grow U.S. jobs." What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I think President-elect Trump actually talked about it in that New York Times interview yesterday that you mentioned earlier. What he said is he's going to have companies build factories and bring jobs back to America by having a robust pro-growth economy, by cutting taxes, by cutting back on regulations. And so I think that's the approach that really unites people on all sorts of these issues. You're exactly right. Governor Haley was an incredible jobs governor for South Carolina, done a great job there. And President Trump is aspiring to be a president who brings lots of jobs back here. So I think there's more alignment there than it may appear.
Any storm clouds on the horizon that you see?
Well, you know, I think not really. I think so far this transition has gone very, very strongly. There's still some important points to make, and then, you know, the real work starts on January 20th when he gets sworn in, getting some executive orders done, making sure that we respect religious liberty for all Americans, tell the Department of Health and Human Services to stop torturing the little sisters of the poor, getting the EPA to roll back some of these huge expansions that President Obama has done of some of their rules. So the real work starts on January 20th, and so far all the signs are positive.
I want to ask you about another potential pick at this point. We're talking about Governor Mitt Romney as the potential Secretary of State. It seems like he is the front runner, although Rudy Giuliani also in the running. I want you to listen to what Newt Gingrich said and what he spoke to Tucker Carlson last night about this.
Romney wanted to be in President-elect Trump's job, you know, and to what degree would Romney, once he became Secretary of State, represent himself wandering around the world? Trump's got to have somebody at state who's very tough and very willing to take on foreign leaders.
Is Romney the right man for the job?
Well, I don't know about that. That's a choice for President-elect Trump. I mean, I think it's clear that if Mitt Romney were Secretary of State, he wouldn't be representing himself. He'd be representing the Trump administration. He'd be representing the United States of America. And I don't think it's fair to imply otherwise. But this is going to be a very personal choice for President-elect Trump. Obviously, he has a long-standing relationship with Mayor Giuliani. Obviously, there would be you know, some strong signals sent about unity on the right to select Governor Romney. So I think both will be in the running, and that's a choice for President-elect Trump. But Mitt Romney would be a great Secretary of State if he were chosen.
I want to ask you about one more thing, the nuclear option or limited nuclear option. Some people say that Harry Reid sowed the wind and now may be reaping the whirlwind as a result of that. Do you expect Mitch McConnell to keep that limited nuclear option in effect for any executive position below Supreme Court level?
Well, I think that, first of all, President-elect Trump is going to nominate somebody from his list. I think it'll be incredibly exciting. It'll be important for the Supreme Court. There's actually other ways to make sure that that person gets across. There's something called the two-speech rule in the Senate, which makes sure that no senator is allowed to give more than two speeches in the course of a filibuster. And so I think the filibuster has proven to be an important mechanism in the past. It saved conservatives from all sorts of outrageous things that Barack Obama and other liberals could have done. We should do everything we can to preserve the filibuster while making sure that Harry Reid isn't allowed to block somebody from the court. I think the two-speech rule might be the best way to do that.
But is it a potential sledgehammer that McConnell holds over the heads of Democrats should they choose to make things rough for Supreme Court nominees or for, say, Jeff Sessions?
Yeah, it's definitely a sledgehammer, and I think that it's reported that the Majority Leader McConnell has made it very clear to Harry Reid that this nominee will, in fact, get on the court. That's very important to do. I think that as conservatives, we should do everything we can to achieve both goals through the two-speech rule. You think about what Barack Obama could have done for the last 6 years without the Senate filibuster. It's pretty scary.
Mike Needham of Heritage Action, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Doug. Thanks.